Hello and welcome once again to Wars Going On. I'm Arcturus and I'm here on the Forerunner server to bring you the latest in what's going on in Watcher of Realms. As ever, I'm joined by Sebastian Keynes to share insight and give opinions on what we think is happening, look at what stuff you're talking about. So this is a community podcast. Do get involved in the comments section. Do get involved on our Discord server. We had a very lively discussion this week. I will include a link to it below. And it's always a place to get involved and find out what's going on and what is of importance to you guys who are in the community. Sebastian, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. How about you?
It's been a bit of a busy week, getting back into the grind of GVG, and still fighting towards the end of an arena season is always makes it a little tricky. But that's the game, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty much. So we're kind of learning as to how people are adapting to the map, and you know, the units that we expected that were going to come into play and be rich in terms of the type of defenses that we're going to encounter are in fact coming into play again. So all those long range fighters, our long range mages, our true damage dealers, they're all still part of the equation. Nothing really has changed. It's all about just what type of positions you're deploying and what type of awakenings and gear you have. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
after... Sorry, finish what your thought.
No, I was just saying we kind of predicted that, right? We didn't see anything too special about the maps. To us, it was all recycled content from previous seasons, especially in the positions of the tiles. So, but if we play the game because we like it, and if there is a little bit of a puzzle that we want to solve, we're definitely going to try to solve it. So, and then hopefully we can those that have the stronger accounts, maybe they can then teach the ones with the lowest accounts how to try to combat some of this stuff that they have the demon soldiers to do it with.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit disappointing that the Season 7 map is so available to Ingrid, and there's a couple of slots where she can be quite devastating. Even I've seen Dahlia used quite effectively on this map as well. I think it was quite a well awakened Dahlia because she was doing an awful lot more damage than I'd seen from most Dahlias. But it's kind of frustrating that they've made the maps which make these heroes dominate, but at the same time they kind of have to have content to use them in, which there hasn't really been a lot of places where you've needed a single line, long range attack fighter. And that's where these two heroes do really, really well. So it's not really surprising that the devs are wanting people to make use of these heroes, especially when Dahlia was an exclusive and there hasn't really been a need for a big swarm one. I mean, she's really good in Artifact Material Raid stage 22, 20 and 2022, but that's one stage in the entire content range within the game. It should be able to make use of an exclusive hero more effectively than that.
Yeah, so and you and I keep talking about expanding PvE eventually, and that hopefully they focus more on the tower defense aspect of this game because that's really what we want to see, right? And so again, we have kind of a roadmap. It's just that we're actually waiting for them to deploy that so we can get a little bit of an understanding of what it is they envision here for the next 2 quarters. It's just that things right now are complicated because of the whole legal stuff that is going on with the United States and Moonton's ability to get the apps back in the respective app stores for each one of our devices. So, yeah.
So that's probably a good. There's just one point before we jump into that as a main topic. I did see someone commenting that on the official Discord there is a competition at the moment where you go into a channel and you can link off to the create. I think it's called the Cerberus event, and you can create maps using the guides web, something like the guides website, where you can put place it, layout, do a map design. It's kind of like a Mario Maker type thing, where you can put a map design with a start and an end point, and you can submit that. And I believe there's going to be a competition on that at the end of it for people who get to vote on their favorites at the end of it. So if you are interested in that sort of thing and you do want to see more tower defense content in the game, that might be a way of getting in there and building up some interesting maps, or looking for really interesting maps that are being suggested and voting for those ones.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that, and hopefully nobody, comes up with an Ingrid map just so everybody gets, Ingrid will just devastate the thing. So, but
Yeah.
I'll have to look at it closer to see what exactly it is that they are, what this competition is about. Because to be honest, I haven't really looked into it, and I've been kind of my right now is just kind of surveying things. How are things changing, especially here in the States with the game, and
Yeah.
how are the trends changing? I just want to see how much damage this kind of dull period is having in terms of the United States interest here as players wait to get a response.
Yeah.
So we'll see. The
So,
competition sounds fun.
yeah. Yeah. I
And I
haven't.
know, I also know that Fastidious is trying, and I admire him for it. He's trying to also bring that interest back, especially with his competition going on right now too.
Yeah, this
And
free to play. I think it's his third free to
yes,
play event that
mhm,
started. I think it was this like the Saturday just gone, so the 1st of February. And if you go to his Discord, the Fast and the Fastidious, you'll be able to find all the details there. I think it's already started, so don't waste time if you want to get involved and push as hard as you can. But yeah, check it out if that's what
yeah,
what you want to get into.
yeah. He's giving away. I think all of it is from his own purse, right? Is the money that he's offering for this competition. And instead of last year's Epics challenge, this year apparently you can use 3 legendaries. You cannot spend at all in the game, and you cannot bring resources, outside resources, into your account. So things like the daily check-in in Discord to get diamonds, that's not allowed. Just little things like you have to really keep it free to play. But then if you have 3 legendaries, not counting Salazar and Volca, I think. Um, Once you pick those 3 legendaries, those are the ones you ride with, and then everything else you just have to leave at on level. You cannot use them. They're like account showcases type of legendary. So yeah, you gotta get lucky early on in the pools if you do start pulling legendaries, and then you gotta make a decision as to which ones you're gonna pick to help you progress.
Everyone's going to be re-rolling and re-rolling until they get that legendary they want.
It would be a pain to do it, but if people want to invest the first, I bet you that some people invested the first 6 hours trying to find the perfect epic legendary combo, right? And
Yeah.
just made multiple accounts trying to do that. So I unfortunately don't have a lot of time this year to participate in something like that. And then he extended it to 45 days, so that's a grind. And I know that you would not want me to give up the Forerunner account to do this. So, yeah,
Please no.
well, I'll let other people enjoy it, and then I'll join them in another competition if it's available when I have a little bit more time.
Okay, so that's kind of all that's really going on in Watch of the Realms at the moment. There isn't much in the way of news. I know that the Gauntlet the Gladiator Gauntlet just finished on the global server. So congratulations to Mad Elite for their victory, and well done to the Dragon Slayers for a well-deserved second place through that season. Because I know the guys have been trying really, really hard, and they had felt that the scoring system had done them badly in the previous seasons. So it was nice for them to get some recognition for all their hard work. But right on to the news. It's kind of all what's going on with the Skystone publishing. So the latest I heard on that topic was that Skystone Gaming have actually also got Marvel Snap, which was there was a lot of wondering who was going to be the publisher for Marvel Snap. It's going to be the same people who are going to do Watcher of Realms. So we'll see what comes of that. I mean, the devs are still out until Thursday this week, the 6th of February. So we'll see what they've got to say on that. I think you were saying just before we started recording that you'd got some news.
No, so the whole thing that I was talking to you about was that everybody was making the comparison between Watcher of Realms and Marvel Snap at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there are so many differences between the two here that you really can't make a direct comparison of what could happen in terms of the apps returning to the store because of Moonton's still involvement with BitDance, being an affiliated unit of BitDance. So
Yeah.
if you right now go into your Android device and go to the Google Play Store or your Apple device and go to their App Store, you're going to see Marble Snap there. So that kind of makes it, well, what is Wise and Watcher of Realms back in there? And that's precisely Wise because of the developer, who the company is and how they're right. And so like just with everything going on in the news right now is all about, BitDance got into the AI business. So now the Chinese government might be more perceptive about allowing Elon Musk to buy BitDance or TikTok, right? So all this things, the stuff comes to play. I know that they're still trying, the board is still hoping for a resolution where they don't have to sell. So they're still trying to work on that. Microsoft was also is still a player in terms of trying to get into it if indeed they decide to sell. But again, the one thing that we are looking out for is to make sure of what Moonton is going to do to cut ties with BitDance, and that's what I'm waiting for, just to make sure that we have a positive resolution here in the States. Now, to even on the greater extreme, which could be worrying for some, especially depending on the state that you live in, is, for example, in Texas, the state of Texas here in the United States, they just recently passed a ban on all government issued devices where they can't install an app from a Chinese company at all. So if that app has any connection to a Chinese company, they'll completely blocking it all out. And unfortunately, because of that, a lot of business related apps got affected. So they have to come but this is the stuff that we're going on politically right now, because one state could easily say, well, no Chinese apps at all for anybody. We're going to block them based on geolocation. That could be any game that you're playing, to be honest. So, right. So all these things are things to keep still an ear on for, and not just think that everything is going to work out, because there's a lot of legalese that still needs to be worked on.
Yeah, and it's not wherever lawyers are involved, it's never smooth sailing. Things will always take 3 times as long as you want them to, but because they'll be trying to make something which is bulletproof when everyone wants a quick and dirty solution. And the trouble is, in situations where like this, where you've got states, nation states, saying you can't have anything to do with that country, that's going to be really complicated. Because it gets into, you can get all the way down into like supply chain stuff. So if you have a server which was purchased, which contains a Chinese component, are you allowed to have that at all? Does everything need to be transferred onto different hardware because of potential security risk? It's a real minefield, all of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And if at the end of the day, it's a question of how paranoid are you about your your data and what you believe that people will do. And I saw a great comment from someone saying that the risk is that people are worried about what there is a risk that the future president could be embarrassed by something they did on TikTok. And the follow-up comment was, have you seen what these people, they have not got no shame. They don't care in 20 years' time if someone goes back. They'll probably look back at it and laugh. But it's if you're putting it out on something like that, you're either doing it because you're trying to get likes or laughs, but yeah, you've kind of got to take everything that goes with it. So
I mean, from my perspective, it's just that everything with everything going on in the political scene, unfortunately, things like this, mundane stuff like games, get caught in the field, and they suffer because of it. So
right.
it's like, even if maybe you're watching, you have a streaming service, and all of a sudden anything that might be affiliated with the country needs to be pulled out, and then your favorite show is gone. It's that type of feeling, right? So it's all because these countries are battling each other for some reason or another, that then things like this get affected. And like the ability to use something like CapCut it's puzzling at times. And this just goes to show that when you write laws, you really have to make sure that you define things well, so things like this don't happen. And
Yeah,
just
absolutely. I
you
mean, it
rush
was kind
things,
of
and
written
all of a
as an
sudden, boom.
anti-TikTok law, and
Yeah.
it's interesting that a head of a social security company, social network, is pushing the current president of the United States to put pressure on another social network, which may or may not be impacting traffic to their own social network. So, I mean, the two main US owned social networks have both been putting pressure on the government to act on this topic. And you have to ask yourself, step back and ask yourself, how innocent is this? Because it doesn't. If you look at it purely from a business perspective, it looks really dodgy.
Yeah. But well, not to get too much into political stuff and stuff like this, because that's not really what we're
Yeah.
about. We just I'm just highlighting things that unfortunately our favorite game, get affected by, and that some people don't think about. So, but again, let's just hopefully let the legalese worked out. Like you said, February 6th is when they're supposed to be coming back. Hopefully they make a little bit more of a clarification as to what's going on, but there is still a clock that we're all looking at, and April 6th is going to be a big date. So hopefully
Yeah.
everything gets resolved then. So now, you did say at the beginning, we are a community, or we're trying to make this a community-based podcast. So for this episode, because unfortunately there haven't been any updates because of what's going on, especially here in Forerunners. I just said, let's go back a couple of videos and see what people have been talking about when it comes
Yeah.
to the game.
Okay, so let me just get this over. So there we go. So right at the top. So on the last video, we had let me just, yeah, I can see all of that. A comment from Aviating Gamer. We were talking, and he makes two references to two timestamps. And these were when we were talking about the Beelzebub and what he can and what he can't do. And the point I was trying to make when I was talking at those two timestamps was that a lot of content creators had been saying he's going to be transformational, he's going to be amazing, and what we're seeing based on what the gameplay on the Forerunner server is that he's not as transformational as some people might have been led to believe. Is he a good hero? Yeah, he does the job that he's trying to do, and he does it pretty well. But we aren't seeing him used very often in AoE Arena. We're not seeing him used very often in GVG. One of our guildmates tried to run him in on season 7, and it's with mixed results. He's not being I mean, his is only a 0, so it may be that it's a lack of awakenings, but it's not. He's not transforming people's accounts. He might be able to take it up one step. And yes, I mean, when I say he's got a low DPS ultimate, it's like that's the point we were trying to make. You can't build him as a DPS unit. He's a support unit. I wasn't trying to say anything else. I mean, because that ultimate was all about saying inspiration, inspiration, inspiration. But at the end of the day, you build him up and he's still going to have a lower attack than an epic unless you're running his artifact, which you obviously would do because it's adding another 20% attack on top at base level. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what you're looking at there. But that's kind of probably could have been clearer during the video. But yeah, I'm not saying he's a bad hero. I'm just saying he's not necessarily transformational.
No. Right. And that, like we said, I think we mentioned that there are different ways that you could build him if you want him, based on what you want him to do. So that's, and the more you awaken him, the better he becomes. That's the only thing that I want to add here, because I could anticipate this, given that you said that that some people cannot make him work in GBT. Here in the global server with the recent matches that I saw against Mad, yes, they had a lot of differences with Beelzebub, but there were, number one, most likely there were A5 Beelzebubs, and then the other one, and I know that you're going to say, but they were using him. We did not see a difference where Beelzebub was not teamed up with a Proteus or an Ingrid. So it was all revolving around those two heroes. So can he carry a unit himself like Ingrid? No. He will be a good support. Now, the other thing that we also noticed was that especially with this new map, you have to be really careful of where you deploy him, because those Putreflies can actually drag the units past your tank.
Yeah.
You're given the access, right? So again, be very careful with that. And then the other thing is that you and I know that these heroes that have this tendency of changing the direction of the demon soldiers, especially flying units, they tend to change the direction of the flying units so they don't go in the direction you expect them. They kind of start taking shortcuts. So again, it all depends on how you use them. But
I still can't believe they haven't fixed that pathing bug for flying units.
Exactly. So that's what I'm going to leave piece about. I'm still going to say the same thing that I said in that video. Is at that time it was, I know what you're expecting him, what you probably want him to do. Is just be reasonable once you give him a try. And no, this is not a hero that I would per se shelf because he's not doing what I want. There's some neat ways that you can use him if you want to. So yeah. So as soon as I was able to get him in my global account, I put in a couple of teams together to help me speed up some stuff, and he did it. So he's a good hero. He's just not these some of the diseases were saying, oh no, account changing. This guy is going to just change the landscape of your account.
Yeah. Okay, so the next good one which came up, let me just expand this. It was from Pyramid Hack, and he was talking about it's frustrating how the Infernal Cleric makes a 15% debuff against Chaotic and Arbiters, the two strongest pay-to-win factions in the game. I will dive in here and say, actually, the Infernal Cleric's debuffs are on the Watcher faction and the Arbiter faction. His skill is called Mark of Chaos, and he receives 15% bonus damage, but he also deals 15% bonus damage to those two factions. He then goes on to say, the point of these demon soldiers should be that they are mechanically separate from the main champions. This is the fact that this special unit designed to combat magic units receives additional damage from these units which can absolutely destroy it. It just negates it altogether. Make it make sense, developers. You can't even guarantee as a whale, just get more stamina, I guess. It's getting ridiculous. a ridiculous. It's a ridiculous grind that negates itself. Genius. Yeah. So I get his point that the I'll put him up on screen actually because it's probably easier to have a look at this guy while we're talking about him. So just switch that off and demon soldiers. Where is he? It's always way down the bottom because I never have him equipped.
There, right there. You passed him.
There he is. Funny head. Yep. So this is it. And yeah, I think it is difficult because people were kind of hoping that his AoE magic protection would really help in situations where he's providing allowing people to get him. In fact, the most annoying thing here is the fact that they've got him going up against a Starpiercer team rather than an actual magic team. So that shows how much confidence they've got in their own demon unit that they won't put him up against any magic units in the video.
Yeah, exactly. Now, most of us have him at a low level. In my global account, fortunately, I got him to level 3 already. But
wow.
I was thinking about the fact that he might, the reducing the damage that he gets from some of these factions. Maybe they're just making sure that he does not become too OP, that he starts negating the heroes once you get him past level 5.
The only thing he gains at level 5 is health.
Okay, so it's a little bit more health. So what I was telling you was that one of the ways, at least from what I noticed in the test server, running him against defenses that have been set up for me by other content creators, is I was fortunate that I can level him to level 5 just in a snap. But it's, I mean, definitely he's taking less magic damage. But the thing that makes him the thing about some of the watchers, or especially Ingrid, in the in the arborers, comes down to true damage. That's really what's doing most of the damage when he starts going up against those 2 units. And that's where he then melts, right? So, you see a difference in the purple numbers. It's the light yellow ones that are doing what, like but what Pyramid was saying is that he's going to get more damage. Yes, you're right. And if it's built correctly and they're taking advantage of that true damage, yes, they're going to melt a lot easier. But other magic units, he should be able to really contend with once you get him leveled up.
Okay. Yeah, and I know I've not really put a lot of effort into farming for him, but I think I've used him maybe 3 times successfully since I got my hands on him. But most of the time, I try and use him, and he melts. At which point, the entire defense is then relying on the backup plan that has to work. And there's only so far that level 4 lightning guards can get you. Okay.
So then the only other thing that I have to say about him is he has a weird targeting mechanic. And it's really all dependent on how you deploy your heroes, to be honest. So he seems to prefer to target the units that you are placing on the right hand side of your formation when you go to deploy. So it's really weird to see his interaction at times, because there's some instances where he will target a unit past the tank, and there are other ones where he does not. He will just target the tank. So if you set up your defense correctly, you can negate any direct damage that he does. So again, this is stuff that I reported. And it's like, we got to make him his target. His targeting has to change just to at least increase his viability. And so I think I even brought this up to you. It's like, if he sees an Arbiter or Watch Guard in his range, regardless of what other units you have in, those are the ones that he's going to target. Then
Yeah,
now we're making him a little bit better, right? So just little things like that is what I hope that they think about sometimes when they're developing this stuff now, especially with these marks.
yeah, because the second mark, because we've got the other mark is kind of like the frozen mark, which let me just on the frozen drifters and the new cleric who I picked up today, otherwise known as frozen fool. So we've got the mark of the frostborn, which is this other one, which basically makes them weaker to stronger against freeze mechanics, but they receive increased continuous damage. Now that could be frost-related continuous damage, but I believe it's the opposite. So it receives additional flame damage. So I think that's fire damage. Is my understanding of how that reads to me, which makes sense. Which makes sense to me if that's how it works.
Right.
But yeah, he's.
Well, have you practiced with him? Have you tried to see if he gives similar sized shields as the Fool?
Now, interestingly, he's actually able to put a shield around all of Moore as opposed to a codpiece on Moore. So.
Okay.
So I have seen that they actually managed to make the animation work properly with the Demon Captain Moore. That his shield is of a decent size that it now covers the whole model. But I in those situations I would run the Fool because I have a level 2, nearly level 3 Fool, and he's doing the same function but stronger. So
okay.
I mean, if I keep
like some of our guildmates that were not playing the game during the Demonic Crusade, some of our guildmates still don't have the Fool. So hopefully this is a good replacement for him.
yeah.
So
I think it's one of those ones where you'll have to push him up the affiliation order to try and get the HP balance of the demon soldiers, the demon shields mechanic working. So, well, it's based. Interesting. This implies that it's based on the target's HP, which in other healers have been based on the healer's HP. So.
Yeah, their attack or their HP or something to that nature, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So this could actually work better for some heroes. Sorry, for some demons that it works better for them.
Yep.
So.
Yep. All right. I'm looking forward to get him into. I want to see if I can team up with Destin to test him in the test server though. With the available because we can make him level 5 right away. So.
Yeah, so you get the extra HP bonus to see if those shields suddenly jump in strength.
Yeah, because one of the things that Destin did is that when it first came out, he just was looking at the demon of those frosters. What are they called again?
Frozen drifters.
And they would just melt really easy, right? So now we want to see, okay, so now if we combine them like we combine them with this one, can we make something happen instead of this guy's just falling apart? So
yeah, I mean, these guys, you basically got to think of them as a 4-cost version of the Reapers, and they do exactly the same job. They've got a very similar attack mechanic. They run into something very quickly and they smash it up. And in the Frozen Drifters method, they either freeze it and run past it, or they rip it to shreds just through pure damage. Now, I mean, they do slightly lower attack, but you've got to base it on the fact they have a higher base attack to start with. So actually, they're probably doing more once you've got it all affiliated.
Right. Well, it's like we just want to make sure that they're able to survive. That's the big thing about these guys. So
yeah,
I don't think that they're going to become an OP unit being teamed up with this new version of the Fool. But at least, hopefully, once we get him leveled, there's something that we could possibly do down the line. Maybe there's another Demon Soldier that provides just as good a support with that. So we'll see. But
yeah,
we just gotta wait to see what else is tossed at us for us to try to figure out how to play it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so jumping
While
back.
you look for the next one, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for those of you that comment and do provide feedback on some of the stuff that we do talk about. We do appreciate it. We do encourage you to continue doing it. I should be. I should actually go look at the comment section more often. I know that you do a very good job of responding to them. But this is why I like doing these type of segments, because Arturos is the one that brings it out, and I can just we can just go ahead and discuss it. So I like kind of the surprise aspect of it.
Okay, so there's a post. There's someone here posting in defense of Rygar, because I know Rygar was a hero who got a lot of abuse when he came out. That he just wasn't Torador, and so this he's saying that Rygar is someone who. So this is from Corv Stiffen, and he's saying Rygar makes heroes like Valeria and Lugaru viable for boss battles, especially Valeria, who is able to restore her health during Rygar's ultimate, even when she's using hers and she's normally not able to heal. I went as far as using her ultimate whenever it was available without dying. He might not be the most OP hero, but he is able to open new opportunities for team building. And I think that's a good takeaway on these new heroes who are coming out. They might not be always game breaking, but they can allow people to do things differently. And while lots of us have endgame accounts, not everyone does. And this can allow some people to do something a bit differently. I think there could be some things you could do with him and the least liked, second least liked defender in the game. Because I think Azor and him could work quite well because you're getting the healing. Azor's throwing out damage buffs. He's doing lots of damage. I think that could be quite an interesting combination to play with.
Yeah, so just going a little bit of a side tangent from what you said there, or the comment that you made there. So Valeria heals during her ultimate when you have Rygar on the composition. When you
Apparently,
deploy it. Is that working as intended?
well, I know that if you trigger Eloin's ultimate before you trigger Valeria's ultimate, she will heal during her ultimate with that as well.
That's weird. Okay, because I thought, that she was just not supposed to heal at all during that ultimate. So it's an interesting thing. All right.
Yeah, so I think it's potentially a similar interaction with the Eloin one, and as they haven't bothered fixing the Eloin one, I'm not seeing them fixing this one anytime soon.
All right, let's just say it's working as intended. But so let's go back to then Rygar as a whole. So I did not showcase him because essentially I ran out of time. But one of the things is when I was collecting the clips, it was really hard for me to make a very good decision about the heroes. So essentially what I left, and I think this is something that we discussed in the similar episode that we were talking about Bizzlebub, is that, yes, his Lord skill is a little bit different from Torador's, right? And so I think we said that he could essentially what he was brought in to do was to boost damage from the other nightmare heroes. The fact that we're gaining life steal from him, that effect is superb. And like he said, if he was able to get those units to work better for him because of it, especially with Lugaru losing health and Valeria loses health during her ultimate. If he actually makes those heroes more viable in the mid game, then perfect. He is doing exactly what the developers intended him to do, which is what we kind of saw in terms of his perspective. It's just that some content creators were having a hard time trying to put him into the end game, right?
Yeah.
And so this is where you and I were going back and forth, is which account benefits from him will be dependent on what level they're in, right?
Yeah.
And right. So the high overlord ranks of GVG and the global server, I did not see too many Rygar teams. In the area that our guild is running in, which is 6 through 11 right now, right? 6 through 10 in our GVG.
Yeah.
We are seeing some compositions trying to use him here. But what are we finding out? If you can BP check it, you can swarm it. That's just one downside. So yeah, exactly. So and if you build him too much like a DPS, you can kill him. If you build him too tanky, you can swarm him. So it's like you have to find this perfect balance with him. And
Yeah.
so I think that this viewer here picked up exactly on what we were trying to or what I was trying to summarize at the end. I don't know if mystical added anything on top of that, but it was just like he is going to, I think, boost some of those nightmare heroes that you might have in your account while you're waiting to, if you missed out on a Kigiri, for example, then you can team him up with somebody like Arrogance or who else is in the faction? Maybe even Damus if you wanted to, because you're waiting for
Yeah.
another legendary to pop in, right? So, yeah. So yeah. So if you missed out on a Kigiri or you missed out on a Lust, that's exactly what he's going to provide you.
Yeah, because he'd be an extra great source of damage if he's in his DPS build. Then that would be really good if you didn't have Lust, because obviously she is very good at boosting the damage output of other Nightmare units, and so that was what he would be adding to that team.
And I don't know if I said this in that episode, but I compared them to Elder because
Hmm.
the differences between King Harsh and Elder to their faction is King Harsh is protecting, Elder gives a damage boost, right? So
Yeah,
when you bring in the Northerners before they got power crept, I mean, come on, let's be honest, they got power crept. When we were using Northerners for something like Semra, if you had Elder, you bring him in because he's going to boost the damage of all the other Northern heroes. So I think that in a sense they kind of carbon copied that format and then they brought it to the Nightmare Console.
yeah. I had Elder on my global account, and I found that he worked really. You could do a really nice Elder Ardia Valkyra team in a AoE arena, and it worked pretty effectively because you've got Elder for the shield. He can point upwards and provide Valkyra a little bit of encouragement because she's not always very good at taking things out, even with a decent damage on her. And he then also provides a shield to Ardia because when she's run all of her health down and she wants to kill herself, then he's stopping the units get to her, and he's absorbing the body blows.
Yep,
Um,
yep, yep, yep. We'll leave it. I'll leave it there. That's my comparison. Is I like Elder. I don't know. I mean, if you guys summoned for Elder in this weekend's banner, good luck in getting him. But um, that is one unit that I use for progression, and he worked phenomenally. I
hmm.
like him because of that. And I know he's not going to be like the end game hero, but for my perspective, in terms of using him to advance in the Forerunner account, oh, he was a fun hero to play with, and I still use him. I still use him in the Void Rift because I just like him as a front unit. He can do damage. He can hold up against very menacing units, and then you have somebody in the back backing him up as well, and he works very very well. So yeah, so I would expect the same from somebody like Ryder.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's do one more.
One more. Um, do, 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 No, that's back before Christmas. That's going back quite a long way. So probably the last one.
Uh, Do you have
It's
any?
about the mage classes. Here we go. What's this one?
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, look for the one that says Sebastian is a dumb idiot.
No, can't find that one. I deleted
No.
my comment earlier that said that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So Dumpster Player 2700 said maybe each player arena type has a nerf to the opposing class, e.g., Mage class does 20% reduced damage in anti-air or something, and the intended class has a 20% faction boost, damage boost. It feels a bit clunky, but as someone who doesn't, I'm assuming it's supposed to say doesn't have any of the OP heroes, it's rough. I feel like the unleveled heroes content. I really like the unleveled heroes content. It gives me an incentive to actually try out new heroes at parity with others. It's not the 10th thing I don't need to re-gear for. So I think that's I think it's almost a fair comment, except that light armored units already get a damage boost from that content. Now, you could also stand back and say yes, but they are 40% weaker overall compared to the strong mages which we're facing. So you can easily build an Ingrid to 25,000 attack, and if you're running Tear of Twilight, you've got 30% damage boost on top of that, and if you've got a strong account, you can probably build your Silas to maybe 18,000, maybe 19,000 if you're really pushing it. And that's still, even with a 20% armor bonus, that's still a long way to go to have the edge against some of these super strong mages.
Okay, so he's talking about like nerfing how much damage a mage does in something like the anti-air mode of arena. Is that what we're going through here? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things, at least, that I was thinking about, especially when I was looking at the new exclusive gear that was coming into the game, especially the faction-related one and the new artifacts that were introduced, is I think that the developers are trying to help us out to make sure, like something in Air Arena, like the Star Piercer faction exclusive does more damage to anti-air, right? So they're trying. I think that that is kind of the direction that I think that they're thinking about going, is giving us tools to make those heroes a little more competent in that type of content. The claw, the artifact, the claw, it's working better than Siphon, especially when it does single target damage, right? Uh, so I would say that they might push back a little bit on that ideology of saying, okay, we're just going to nerf the class a little bit in this mode, and then we're just going to try to give you the tools for it. Unfortunately, though, these T3 sets, unless you get lucky and you're able to put a competent one together, you could match something like Infernal Roar and Soulbound Arcana. But you have to, I mean, based on how many mats we get from farming each month, you have to get lucky to try to get something with an attack bonus and have all the relevant substats along with it.
It's possible to. I've just got this guy maxed out. I had him in my Semra run, and he was doing nearly as not quite as much damage as. Let me just pull it up actually, because I could dump straight over because the clocks haven't reset yet, so I can just jump in. So this was my Semra 2 run with Lucius in bright. With that artifact on, here we go. And he was 4th highest damage dealer, nearly 200k damage.
That's not bad. Yeah,
from
that's
him.
good. Yeah, especially
I'm
when you're
pretty
running
sure
him
that's
with
bigger than it was last week. So
watch guard. Yeah. I really like the club for this type of battles. So, but that's one of the things that you and I were talking about as to how to spice up arena in those episodes that we've had this discussion.
Yeah.
Is to do this type of thing. Like the mage or the mage class is for that particular week do 20% less damage, or say the watch guards are going to
What?
do 50% less damage or something like
Well,
that. But
just even class lock it. You say can only deploy anti-egg.
right,
Archers in this match. Can only you can't use any mages in single target arena. You can't use any. You can only use mages or ranged units in AOE arena. So I think there are things you could do to lock it down using the tools we have in game already. I mean, or even just like, yeah, you can only use defenders, healers, and mages in AoE arena. Awesome. Suddenly the
yeah.
cultists get a massive boost.
And then you rotate that. You rotate that specific wound in the season, right? So maybe you have a free week where it's like anything goes, and then the next week is your suggestion, and the week after that you would just say, maybe this faction it's not involved, or there's a negation on the type of damage that you can do,
Yeah.
or the demon soldiers gain, like, they are extremely resistant to magic damage or something like that, right? And then you have to play around. You have to think about what units you're going to bring, and not make it all Ingrid Prettious. That just, it gets
It's
dull after
tedious.
a while. But
I mean,
again,
I have a team in it for AoE Arena, which I run because it's fun rather than the fact it will win. When it works, it's absolutely deadly and it's hysterical because I win in 3 rounds. But if it doesn't work, then
right.
it's game over, and that happens a lot. But yeah, it's Ingrid Ardia Valkyra, and it's just great when it works. When it doesn't work, it's a disaster.
Yeah, exactly. So I've actually been talking to F2P boy from our guild about using a
Yuri,
Yuri in an
yeah.
anti-air team, and just seeing that in action is fun, right? But damn well that you meet an A5 Ingrid A5 Pro, you're done for, so it doesn't really matter. But at least it's
Yeah.
something that you can just add a little bit of a variation when we have to jump in arena and we have to do 20 battles so we can get a tree added to our camp. So, it's just little things like that when they're forcing us to do it. But again, the roadmap says we're looking to make changes to arena. I'm waiting to see what those are. I'm up, hopefully. They are good ones. But I don't know. My spider sense is saying that it's going to be something similar to the Honor's Gauntlet that we've been toying around
No,
with here in the Forerunners.
please no.
Please no. I could just see Arturos's face drop when I said Honor's Gauntlet.
I mean, at least they fixed it so you can get all 7 heroes on the same faction now. Because they did with when they first brought it out, you could only have 5 heroes in one faction, and so if you had seven units all in the same faction, you couldn't get the hero bonus for all of them. Now they've changed it, so you changed it up so you can actually get it's like the faction trials, and it's the Lord bonus will apply to all the units if that's what you want to do. So.
Yep, exactly. So, all right. So now in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be looking out for the 2 new heroes. Lu Bu is one, and what's the other one? I should know this.
Lu Chao, is it? No, Dao Chan.
Okay,
Dao
okay.
Chan.
Chat. Okay, all right.
If you're not hugely, I believe they're both characters from mythology. For Chinese mythology, Lu Bu was apparently a bit of a someone who just liked fighting. Is how I read it. He basically crossed paths with whoever offered him the most money, and he thought he could win in a fight. So he was a bit of a chaotic guy. So he fits in the right faction, and apparently under some of the mythology, he had a female love interest. This is Dao Chan, and she's going to be an interesting unit because she can both do inspiration and healing. So it'll be an interesting one to use. If I think, and she's I think she's limited, so I think it's probably one that'll be worth going for to see how that
So
pans out.
one is a support. So one will be a support here, and the other one will be DPS. Of course, we have
Yes.
to add it.
Yeah,
So
he's
we're
got
gonna have
apparently
to look at
a sort of
DPS.
Ardia Thalin style range, so it's quite
Oh, okay.
a long range.
So we're just gonna have to see if the DPS power creeps. So Wang Kong. Then that's what we're waiting for.
Because the chaotic faction needed even more overpowered units in it.
Yeah, you know it. You know it, man. All
I'm
right.
just bitter
So
because
I'll
I
be
don't have
interested to see
Valderon.
this two new heroes coming into the game, and maybe later on we finally see He-Man and the Masters of the Universe coming into Watch Over Realms too. And if you got that reference, good for you.
It just shows how old I am. Right. Anyway, yeah, I think that's we'll draw a line there. We're coming up to an hour. But so thank you for joining us. Hopefully the devs will come back and they'll push out a new patch on Forerunners, and we'll have some more content to share and about what's coming up. Do keep chiming in. During this video, I had one of my guildmates message me complaining about divine rates and wanting me to talk about it. I don't really get into discussions about divines because I'm working with a data set that's this small, and statistics for these things you need lots and lots of data. So I can't do it or get into a discussion of a single source of evidence. So sorry.
Yeah, we
But
would need a large sample size to make any infer there. But yeah, sometimes it feels harsh summoning into divines, but 6% can get cruel, man. I mean, I've been there, especially with another game. And I mean, it just sounds 6% sounds high, but it isn't really. It isn't. So, yeah, I can
no,
feel your pain,
I
though.
think
I
he
can
was
feel
even
your pain,
summoning on the X2s, and he was so his experience was even worse. So it should have been
Yeah.
11 stroke 12%, but and he wasn't getting that.
Yeah, we would need a like a fasty project to even try to define if there's anything funky going on there.
Yeah,
But
unfortunately.
again, this would all be solved nicely if they would just publish it, just like any other new game is doing it right now. That's a topic for another time, though.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
All
Thanks
right,
very
nice
much,
talking to
everyone.
you. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Nice talking to you, Arcturus, again. And then we'll see you all next week. And hopefully, from my perspective here, especially being in the States, we just want some news. I just want some news to see how exactly Moontan is going to try to get around and try to get the app back in the markets.
See you next time.